We had one of the strangest things I've seen in a long time happen last night in the middle of the SGA versus Jokic MVP battle. After SGA gets a foul call on this drive, you might be wondering why OKC head coach Mark Daigneault is screaming at referee Jason Goebel. Goebel was probably wondering the same thing as he promptly tees him up. Turns out he was angry because they totally missed this hack across Hartenstein's arm on the previous play. Here, Daigneault is trying to explain that to referee Mark Lindsay. Get over here. Just hear me out right now. Mark, don't talk to me. I'll have you removed. Removed. Number 2, Jokic gets the ball out of bounds. He tries to always throw it ahead, throws the ball up the floor. Oh, no. I'm going to keep him at the table all freaking game. I mean, what the heck is he talking about? How does he go from arguing a missed call to complaining about an opposing player inbounding the ball?
The permanent sub idea is, there's a ball goes out of bounds in the NBA. The officials are the ones in charge of the pace of how fast the ball gets inbounded. Jokic is savvy, and if I was coaching Jokic, I'd appreciate him doing this too, but he gets the ball very quickly from them, and he starts the fast break. And the officials start the fast break for him because he demands the ball, they hand it to him, and he zips it up the floor.
What's strange about this is that I went through every made basket in transition when Jokic was on the floor that took less than 12 seconds, and I had to go back to January of 2023 until I found one where he did what Daigneault is describing. Sure, he gets it out of the net quick on made baskets all the time, but this notion that the refs are abetting him in some sort of unfair advantage is far-fetched. So, what triggered this tactic in this game? Unfortunately, we can't see what Jokic did, but we can imagine he quickly got the ball out of bounds and threw it down court to Christian Braun on the right wing. However, this gave the Nuggets no advantage since the Thunder were in good position on defense, although ultimately they foul Jokic and give him free throws. What Daigneault is afraid of are plays like this, where Jokic quickly gets the ball inbounds and up the court before the defense can react, thereby giving up open and easy shots. Despite this being a free throw make, had there been someone at the scorer's table, the refs would have had to have blown their whistle and subbed them in, negating the easy score. And this is where Daigneault decided to unleash his novel strategy. He calls Dillon Jones up to the scorer's table like he's going to sub him in. I don't think Jones has gotten first quarter minutes all season long, much less in a playoff-like atmosphere of this game. And you can see he did it a little too early because the horn sounds, but then there's some sort of delay. Probably Daigneault telling the referees he doesn't want Jones to sub into the game. The refs are probably confused, but allow it as SGA is waving to tell him to send Jones back to the bench, but then Daigneault walks him back to the substitution box, again has the refs ignore it despite the made free throw. Now, Jones is at the scorer's table at the 7:35 mark and is just standing there. What's strange is that there are now 2 stoppages in play and Jones is standing in the substitution box. If you're in that area, which starts at the hash mark and extends 8 feet towards the half-court line, it means you want to sub in. But he doesn't go in. Unfortunately, we can't see if he was doing musical chairs back and forth from the bench to the box, but play resumes and he's standing there like he had never left. A full minute and a half later, he's still standing there, waiting to check in when we get the Isaiah Hartenstein finish and no call. Daigneault is furious and he's got both feet on the court to confront Goebel. They get the stop on the other end and then even come down and get a foul called in their favor. But because Daigneault is beside himself, Goebel doesn't have much choice on the tech, and that's when we get into the discussion about a permanent sub. We can't see what Lindsay was saying to him, and I'm sure he was confused since he expected a haranguing over the missed foul call. But I surmise he was warning Daigneault that if he continues to leave a sub at the table but doesn't let him check in, it will be a delay of game warning. Lindsay is sternly pointing a finger, so that has to be what he's threatening here. And then we get to the next stoppage of play. Jones is still in the substitution box. Wallace checks in for Williams, but Jones doesn't move. We can't quite see what was happening, but there's a delay, and it has to be because Lindsay is telling him one last time either sub Jones in or sit him down. SGA realizes this is going to be a problem and pleads with his coach to stop it. Daigneault says there's no rule against it. There's no rule against it, Mark. But is that right? The rulebook states a substitute must be ready to enter the game when beckoned. No delays for removal of warm-up clothing will be permitted. A substitute shall be considered as being in the game when he is beckoned onto the court and recognized as being in the game by an official. A substitute may be recalled from the scorer's table prior to being beckoned onto the court by an official. Now, we see Goebel beckoning to Jones, which means he's officially in the game. However, he doesn't take off his warm-up, which violates the no delay for removal for warm-up clothing we saw in Section C. If we jump to the delay of game rule, we'll see that in Section A, number 6, it says a delay of game shall be called for a team preventing play from commencing at any time. So while this was a novel strategy to prevent Jokic from getting an advantage, what Daigneault decided to do was decidedly against the rules, and he was penalized accordingly. There's been some interesting issues that have cropped up over inbounding the ball when it comes to Daigneault and the Thunder, and I don't blame him for his frustration over the refs. But he can get a lot happier by simply playing Prize Picks, the best place to get real money sports action. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Here's your chance to use the knowledge you get from my videos to choose whether Steph Curry will hit a bunch of threes against a bottom-ranked defense, or SGA will get a bunch of free throws against a foul-prone team. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports takes into real money all season long. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Back in April of 2023, Draymond Green got a quick inbounds pass despite a Thunder player clearly in the substitution box waiting to come in. Again, there was still time for his defense to be prepared, but they were distracted and the possession fell apart for him. But Daigneault certainly had a great argument that this play should never have happened. And in December of 2023, this one was even worse. James Capers plays hide and seek with the ball in order to give the Knicks a chance to challenge the out of bounds call, despite the Thunder desperately trying to get it back in play. It's also fascinating to hear how each team's feed described this.
James Capers held on to the basketball. What is he doing? I mean, take a look at this, man. He says right there, he steps over there, and he says, no, hold on. Then he, come on. That's called delay of game on the official.
And clearly it allowed
It gave the Knicks way too much time.
The officials try and get some leeway if they think that one of the teams is going to challenge. They might not rush to give the inbound.
That's an interesting observation, Mike. That's very perceptive, and that's a good job by Jimmy Capers just to see if, you know, the Knicks took their time to kind of take a look at it and see if they wanted to get that challenge opportunity.
So while I'm sympathetic to Mark Daigneault's plight, and I agree with Jokic here,
it's a smart move by him, I'm not gonna lie. But I think the league wants to speed up the game.
and to add more fuel to the fire, in December against the Pacers, the referees inbounded the ball to his team under the wrong basket, confusing every single person in the arena. So if I were Coach Daigneault, I'd be concerned about the referees in a serious way. But getting back to the Jokic quick inbounds plays, I'm amazed he would have considered this a thing, considering it hardly ever happens. And when it does, it feels like there's plenty of time for his defense to get back in position. So I say focus on what he can control and not worry about when the referees hand the ball over, since his solution on Sunday won't work.